Good evening, trading addicts. Welcome to the weekly watch list. This is Jeff Kohler, aka Option Addict, over from TradingAddicts.com. It's about 10 after the hour, and the hour is about 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain. And, I'm looking at index futures trading up here a little bit, and take a look at this chart here of the dollar. So looking at this just a few minutes ago, I'm watching the dollar just fall apart and putting a low down here of about 75.04. Now, if you're not quite sure what the significance is of that, get yourself about a 3-month chart or so, and you'll see right down here what an important level in the dollar this is. So important that I blogged about it not too long ago, a couple days ago. Anyway, so I keeping a really close eye on the buck here, guys. I even might want to draw this out a little bit longer. Let's go 6 months, and I'll show you that dollar's in between a rough spot, and there is going to be a resolution to this range that happens this week. And so either prices give way to the downside, and this little descending triangle pattern confirms dollar weakens, stocks go higher, or we firm up here a little bit off of these lows with now going to be the third test of these lows in this pattern. We might be setting up for one more test of these highs. And who knows, by midweek next week, we could be taking out this trend line. Either way, I want to see 75 give way to the downside or 76 printed to the upside to give me a good confirmation of the next directional move. Until that happens, I think you can be long stocks, you can be short stocks, you can play both sides, which is kind of like I'm doing right now, and still be okay. But when the dollar confirms the next direction that it's going to move, once that happens, you'll want to make sure that the way that you're positioned in equities is cohesive with the movement that we're going to see here in the dollar. With that, let's get back over to the S&Ps, and we finished over at a pretty important spot, I felt, closing out here on Friday. There's not much of a trend line here, but you can kind of see what I'm looking at, all right? And as of right now, there's a couple of ways you can look at this. We saw 2 reactions off of this trend line, which if you're a bull, this trend line holding up is a pretty good sign. If you're a bear, you've got to be watching this developing head and shoulders here on the 30-minute chart, thinking, okay, if we take out that trend line, we're in a pretty good spot. Either way, I think what you got to look at here is over the last couple of days, this is what's going on. Use this little pattern here to help you determine where the next directional move is going to be. Alongside that movement with the dollar, if you see the S&P take out this pattern of lower highs and pop to the upside, you make sure that you're long stocks. If not, if we see, let's say, 1090 give way here to the downside, maybe 1088, give it a little bit of wiggle room, let it at least take out this last low, then if you're positioned to the downside, you're in a good spot. The way the Russell's been weak here, the way semiconductors have been weak, it's made sense to at least attempt to try to take on a few short positions. I mean, I've taken more of a balanced approach in this last week, which I haven't done in quite some time, and we're profitable in those bearish positions, but I want to use that next directional movement that I'm discussing here to kind of manage those positions and look to get on the right side of the tape going forward this week. And so I think this week plays a pretty important story. And whichever one that is, whether the dollar busts higher or breaks lower, it's going to tell you the way you're going to want to be positioned in equities. So my list is as follows. I got some really good buy the dip setups, which is interesting considering the fact that the S&Ps have been up so much. But I got a pretty long list of stocks to buy here near support levels, near trend lines. And I got some stocks that are up a little bit that are starting to soften that look like they're about ready to sell. So take a look at these. Alright, gang, and with that, let's take a look at the price patterns, huh? I'm going to start with my favorite here, which is BMC. You guys remember this from the watch list of weeks past. I've been tracking this one for a while. I really like software companies here. Whether it's Oracle here, which is confirming a nice, beautiful-looking symmetrical triangle. Whether it's Adobe, which you guys remember, I tracking this little triangle pattern, and look at this breakout, the retest, and prices getting ready to move here. I really like software companies, but this is one that I want to buy, especially into a little bit of weakness come tomorrow morning. If I can get BMC down here at about 38.5, that's weakness that I will buy. I like this movement. I like the volume that was behind it. I like the breakout, and I really like software companies here. They're trading really well. I mentioned Oracle. You can throw that up on your list as well. That's worthy of a look to the long side. Over in tech, though, one that I found that was particularly pretty weak. Again, no surprise, you guys have seen this on the watch list before. It's this descending triangle here in J2 Global. You can see here on Friday, pretty significant weakness with stocks up. Not only that, but big volume into that sell-off. So I want to watch this $20 level. If it gives way, you got to short the stock, looking for a move at least down into the 18 range. Next, TDS. The head and shoulders pattern, which hasn't yet failed, hasn't confirmed, still right there. And I like this one. I like where it's at just in terms of the one-year chart. Really hasn't done much, hasn't been all that strong. Now trading right between the 20 and the 50. So if it gets back above the 20, I think I can scratch this. But if it stays here and at least closes beneath that 50, that's the anticipatory spot you want to be in, is right there. First close beneath the 50-day moving average, take it down towards the neckline, and then if it breaks and gets beneath the 200, it's going to be a pretty monster setup, in my opinion. HBHC, that's one from prior lists. No surprise, still there. Had a pretty decent upward move here on Friday, but this pattern's still valid and looking for a breakdown of those lows. Ticker symbol JLL. You can see this symmetrical triangle, again from last week's. Still keeping it here because it hasn't confirmed yet, but a break above, let's call it about 53.5, maybe even give it 54. If that happens, you got to get long this stock. My favorite here, which I'm sitting there looking at the options on Friday and just didn't take it because heading into this week, I wanted to make sure I was pretty balanced. But into a little bit of weakness, I think you got to buy this YGE. Today's movement was pretty important. Looking at the longer dated pattern here, it suggests a pretty good portion of upside yet to be seen. The volume was there. So into any type of weakness down below 13, buy that dip. Okay. Inverse head and shoulders on URS. Talked about this on TA Day on Friday, our little day trading room. The inverse head and shoulders pattern was beautiful, good setup, breakout. Now I think you want to look to see prices come back down towards that 200-day, and if they get down around that level, which is about 43.5, look to buy that one, take that one up at least to the 47.5 level. Couple more. With the movement of crude oil, I blogged about that on Friday, and the weakness that we're seeing here, it's starting to look concerning for some of these oil service stocks. UPL is one that stands out to me, and look at how volume has really shifted here. No volume on the increase, big volume on the sell-off, some pretty good volume on this last little shoulder here, and if these lows are taken out, if this neckline gives way, I'd be looking for a move back down to at least the 200-day at minimum. So UPL is another one. You'll also see on my list CRZO, WFT. There's a couple there that stand out to me that look pretty darn weak. Next, we can look at financials, and Wells Fargo is one that I think you got to be looking at. Financials really haven't participated much, and Wells Fargo, financials in general on Friday, while the market was trading really well, these were some of the weaker spots. Goldman looks somewhat similar here to Wells Fargo. But the way it's setting up here is another kind of a head and shoulders pattern, beneath the 20, beneath the 50, a good distance away from that 200. But as an anticipatory trade, I kind of like this, at least down towards the neckline. And that neckline happens right at about 26.5. If that level gives way, I think you go into free fall mode until you get a little bit closer to that 200-day. Couple others, PCAR. Gotta like the price action here. Gotta like this little triangle pattern. As far as an anticipatory spot, it looks good to me. This could be where you buy. A print above 40 sends this stock back up to, what, 45, based on what this pattern suggests. So you still got a pretty good movement in there. And I know this is anticipatory, but I want to keep a close eye on retailers this week. And like I said, it's early in this pattern, the way it's setting up. But if this 50-day holds, I think you got to buy something like Nordstrom, because what happens is it probably continues to coil, and you're here ahead of time to where you could catch a breakout that sends the stock back up to the upper 30 range. So I don't mind it here. The weakness, the way it held the line down here at the 50, the volume that took place, I think it's in a pretty good spot. I'm interested. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and turn it loose. A lot of good ideas today, both the long side and the short side, but really I'm watching King Dollar here to see how it pans out this week. And that's going to tell me whether or not I need to roll up and lock in some profits on my bearish positions and get long, or vice versa. So as always, this has been the Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching. Happy trading this week.